Off the top of my head, if we do a little recap, we have a prime minister that in the past 2 years has walked out of the House of Commons at least twice, a prime minister who has dropped the F-bomb a couple of times at least in the House, a prime minister who has accused a conservative Jewish member of parliament of being a Nazi, a prime minister whose main house got infested with rodents, a prime minister who just got divorced, can't keep his own marriage intact, and then a prime minister whose own plane breaks down. And also we have some developing news on that. He wasn't just stranded there. He was actually offered assistance, but decided to stay in India. I know. Who would have thought Justin Trudeau would do that? Welcome back to another video, everybody. Maybe is it vacation time? I don't know. Maybe for Trudeau. He's taking an extended vacation before he allegedly will show up back in the House of Commons. Welcome back, everybody. I want to encourage you to give a like, follow, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, share this video to as many people as you can. Share it to Facebook groups, share it to your personal page, whatever you got to do to get this message out, because people have to be aware of what's going on and how just messed up Justin Trudeau is. He keeps messing up and failing Canadians on every level. Here at home, he's done enough to embarrass all of Canada, but he's also doing this abroad. And we're going to be actually taking a deeper dive into the India debacle, because there's more that's happened with the plane incident than what was disclosed as of yesterday. So let's just get into it. On the left here, you have headlines that often soften the blow and make this look like a routine occurrence. And on the right, you have the typical attacks against Justin Trudeau, albeit they are rightfully deserved. Using ground news, which is what I'm doing right now, you can draw from those examples and actually create your own conclusion. This is all possible thanks to today's sponsor, Ground News, a website and app designed by a former NASA engineer on a mission to filter through the propaganda and give freedom back to the people. Every story comes with a breakdown of factuality, which you can see right here, political bias, and something you've probably never seen before is ownership of the sources reporting. You can see 38% is independent, 25% is wealthy private owners, 13% is private equity, and 25% is media conglomerates. I especially like the blind spot feed, which really highlights stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. It's important to be informed about news echo chambers instead of being in the dark of media narratives on literal both sides. With the Ground News Vantage plan, you can get all of their features plus access to the My News Bias feature, which is basically a dashboard for your news diet. You can see what your reading habits are, what your top sources are, and if you're actually consuming diverse perspective. It's fantastic. If you use my link down below, you'll get 30% off of the Vantage News subscription. You can find the link in the description or the pinned comment below, or you can use code MrSun for 30% off of Ground News. Thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring today's video. Apparently, India has offered Air India One to stranded Canadian Prime Minister. Of course, and he didn't actually take them up on this offer. Trudeau's plane finally flew back to Canada around 1 p.m. Tuesday after the technical issue was resolved. The Canadian Air Force plane, initially on its way to pick up Trudeau, was diverted to London for unknown reasons. Let's take a look at some of these India news stories. The aircraft currently being used by Justin Trudeau is 36 years old and has caused problems earlier. In October 2016, it returned to Ottawa half an hour after taking off. Trudeau was then traveling to Belgium. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau finally left New Delhi after a technical snag that had grounded his aircraft was resolved and the plane considered airworthy. From the Times of India, India offered services of Air India One to Prime Minister Trudeau after a snag in the aircraft, and the Prime Minister chose to wait it out. The Canadian side, however, declined the offer and chose to wait for the backup aircraft they added. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau and his delegation departed from the national capital on Tuesday afternoon after being stranded here for 2 days. Come on, Trudeau. You could have gotten quite a bit of stuff done, or at least been heckled a couple of times in that 2-day period. Why did you not just say, okay, great, thank you for the help, I will take you up on that offer, cheaper instead of spending more taxpayers' money in hotels with your private security team and all that stuff. It just sounds like a reason for Trudeau to continue some sort of extended vacation. It's really frustrating. Trudeau, who arrived in India for the G20 summit on Friday, had to extend his stay in the national capital after a technical snag. This prompted the Canadian side to call for an alternate aircraft to take Prime Minister Trudeau and his delegate back to their country. The alternative aircraft, which was expected to arrive in New Delhi on Monday night, also had an unscheduled diversion to London, further delaying the Canadian Prime Minister's departure from India. According to sources, the Indian side had offered services of aircraft Air India 1 to Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau and his delegation to fly back after coming to know about the delay in the departure of the Canadian Prime Minister and accompanying delegation due to a glitch in their special aircraft. However, Trudeau declined the offer and instead chose to wait for a couple of days. Earlier, it was reported that the Royal Canadian Air Force sent Sissy 150 Polaris from Trenton to India on Sunday night to pick up Trudeau and the Canadian delegation. Canada's National Defence had said that the issue involves a part that must be replaced. Meanwhile, in addition to attending the G20 summit, Trudeau held a meeting with Prime Minister Modi on the sidelines of the summit in New Delhi. During the meeting, Prime Minister Modi raised strong concerns about the continuous anti-India activities by extremist elements in Canada and stated that it is essential for the two countries to cooperate in dealing with such threats. Trudeau, while responding to the issue, told the media that Canada will always defend freedom of expression, at the same time will always be there to prevent violence. What? No. India News has ripped into Trudeau for freedom of expression because Trudeau does not support freedom of expression. We've seen this time and time again. Obviously, the biggest example would be stemming from, the Freedom Convoy. But ever since then, even cracking down on Facebook and Meta News and Bill, C-18, it just goes to show that Trudeau wants as much power as possible. Here he is hitching a ride in a golf cart around India, waving. I'm surprised his legs aren't crossed. What kind of man whose thighs can always be that close to one another? I'm sorry, but even when I cross my legs, at least I have my leg way out. They're not crisscrossed the way Justin Trudeau does it. It's I'll put like my ankle on my knee type of thing, and I'll create a big box with my legs. Not crisscrossed, or definitely not that close. Come on, Trudeau, grow a pair for crying out loud. All right. So it's just not looking good for Trudeau overall. And it really doesn't help that the Conservative Party of Canada comes out with this amazing video like the one we're about to watch. Here we go.
The Prime Minister's plane is sitting on the tarmac in Delhi. It was scheduled to depart Sunday after the G20 summit wrapped, but it never left.
What an embarrassment. Easy go. I remember this. You shouldn't feel embarrassed for him is the final message. He can't help it. A real embarrassment to Canada. And I mean, it sounds bad to say this, to anyone else other than Justin Trudeau, but he's just such a big sissy. He's just the biggest sissy Canada has ever seen. And it's not a good look for Canada. It makes us look really weak. And I'm sick and tired of Canada not being taken seriously. I don't know about you, but I'd love to know down in the comments if you're just completely fed up with Justin Trudeau. Chances are that you are. Anyways, let's move on here. Let's take a look at the Indian Prime Minister rebukes BC vote on Sikh independence during meeting with Justin Trudeau. So you have some of the left coverage and some of the right coverage. Obviously, I think we're going to take a look at some of the right coverage. Indian Prime Minister Modi expressed strong concerns that Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau over Canada's handling of the Punjabi independence movement, which he described as promoting secessionism and inciting violence against Indian diplomats. I'm not sure that that's really happening. I haven't really seen a strong anti-India or anti-Punjabi presence in Canada. That seems a little radical to say that, but the Toronto Sun covered this, so we're going to take a look at what they have to say. India-Canadian relations are anchored in shared democratic values, respect for rule of law, and strong people-to-people ties, the Indian government statement said. From Modi, conveyed our strong concerns about continuing anti-India activities of extremist elements in Canada. I have not ever seen any extreme anti-Indian extremist movement or elements here in Canada. I'm not sure about you guys viewing this. Maybe let me know down in the comments where you've seen this, because I really haven't seen any of that stuff. I've seen anti-Canadian elements by the Canadian government, but not anti-Indian elements. That's very odd. The statement described the Sikh movement as promoting and inciting violence against Indian diplomats. Are they maybe talking about Jagmeet Singh? I thought like India basically banished him. That doesn't make any sense. The meeting between Modi and Trudeau coincided with voting in British Columbia and a non-binding referendum for a Sikh homeland that supporters called Khalistan. Large crowds of voters lined up to vote at Surrey's Guru Nanak Gurdwara, all right, on Sunday after the Surrey School District canceled organizers' original plans to rent a local high school for the vote, which is part of an international campaign. The General Counsel for the referendum's organizers said Monday that the attendance numbers were so large that thousands were not able to vote, and a second phase of voting is now scheduled for October 19th. Penham said the turnout is a clear message that activists are committed to a peaceful and democratic process for the group's goal of seeking Punjabi independence from India. Thousands and thousands of Sikhs get together at 7 o'clock in the morning and peacefully disperse after voting. I'm not sure I've seen any of this stuff.
We are in the early stages of our investigation. We understand there's a lot of speculation as to the motive of this homicide, but we are dedicated to learning the facts and letting the evidence lead our investigation. We are aware that many people were present at the time of the shooting. It's important that investigators speak to every person who was a witness. Anyone who has yet to speak to police is asked to please contact IHID immediately. IHID is asking that anyone with information regarding this offense or anyone with dash camera video from 122nd Street or the parking lot of the Gurdwara between 7 p.m. and 8:45 p.m. on June 18th, 2023, please contact IHID immediately.
Last night's homicide was a brazen act of violence outside a place of worship. Many community members were present following evening prayers at the Gurdwara.
Now, my question, so this is brand new to me, but my question is this Indian against, like Indian on Indian crime, or is this a hate crime from a non-Indian religious person, right? That's a pretty important factor that I don't know if is being disclosed or not, because if that's the case, then obviously hate crimes are not good. But if it's internal, like gang violence, or it's an internal attack, then that isn't really, that has nothing to do with targeting religion. It's just internal affairs, right? It's internal cultural conflict. And I hate that these things get really blown out of proportion when you're looking from the media, when you're looking at groups of minorities, right? Like when something happens to a person of color, the media like eats it up and runs with it, saying, oh my God, this crazy thing is happening and all of these people are being targeted, when it's, person of color on person of color violence. And when it's, white people or Canadians or whatever it is. Not saying that people of color aren't Canadians. Obviously, if you're living in Canada, you're a Canadian. But I think you understand what I'm trying to put down. Hopefully you're picking it up, is that there seems to be a massive bias in the media on how these stories get, how the narrative gets put out there. And I mean, we saw that with the Freedom Convoy. They were turning it into this, insurrection type of thing when everyone was saying, no, it's literally not. And so I hate this narrative, and that's all the more reason to get a subscription to Ground News, as you can see the left and right coverage, and you can check your blind spots. That's where we're going to end the video, everybody. I want to thank Ground News for sponsoring today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Follow if you haven't yet. Share this video out so more people can see how messed up Justin Trudeau is and his played, and how he was actually offered help and denied any assistance. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.